Good evening, everybody. You know, I show that intro and it's got beer in the introduction because that's what I wanted to do. And all I have in this house is water. So
I don't have any beer. I can't find any anywhere.
So cheers to everybody out there. It's Kerry from the Whistle Stop Cafe in Mirrow Alberta, and I am not in Mirrow Alberta. I am in Calgary, and Chris is obviously not. Where are you, Chris?
I'm not in Mirrow Alberta either. I actually came up to Edmonton to visit my friend Dr. Dennis Modry, and he offered to do the webinar here with us. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and then we have Jasper.
Hello, people.
Remember, Jasper is in the Netherlands.
Yes.
So it's way past his bedtime right now.
It's 3 in the morning, 3:21 in the morning. So thank you so much for coming out and spending your late night.
Yeah, you're more than welcome, and I'm happy to be here because we've got some great news. We won the Dutch election, so
exactly.
It's time for a little celebration.
A celebration with water and champagne and empty hand.
Yeah. Cheers, people.
Cheers. So what are we cheering? What are we cheersing for? What's the why is this news good?
The last month we had federal elections in Holland, and the people in power are how you say it, they're more globalist elite, and they want to have this world government, and that's what they're building on.
Yeah.
Get rid of the farmers, culture stuff, the whole deal. Make sure we're getting poorer. Finally, we've gotten a new election because the coalition of Rutte, coalition number 4 of Rutte, has collapsed about immigration. And that means new elections. An election came in November, and we had a lot of parties joining the elections. And on our side, there were a couple of parties, and one of them is it's called PVV, Party for Freedom, and the party leader Geert Wilders has won the elections. So the Dutch people, and I guess it's almost 30% of the Dutch citizens voted for him, and he is pro Nexit. He's for closing borders. He wants to preserve the Dutch heritage. So the mainstream media is screaming crazy because the extreme right-wing party has won. Yeah. But that's the whole aim and the whole goal. And finally, there's every win we need to celebrate. And I think this is a big win. So cheers and all.
To put some context to that, I'm just going to show the graph of what the election was before. So 2021 was the election before. Hopefully you guys can see that up there. And of course, the red is now the new election results. So the PVV party, which ended up winning, went from 17 seats. What do you call them? Seats.
Yeah,
17
parliamentary seats.
Yeah, to 37. Like that's crazy. That's amazing, right? And so that's why everybody's excited. And obviously, there's a few that have dropped off. And even before we went on air, and Jasper and I were talking about it, there are parties that are basically just like pretty much gone now. Or at
There's
least
a lot of parties though, but I notice I don't see the Black Pete is Black party. They didn't win any seats.
Yeah,
that's a real party, folks. I'm not even kidding you. There's a political party registered in Holland called Black Pete is Black.
Yeah, but as well as a pirate party and everybody.
Oh yes, I knew about that. That's right.
So here's a comment. You know, Jasper, you made mention that the extreme right. I would call it the extreme pragmatic party.
It's that's that's one way I would call it.
Rather than this right left stuff, just the extreme pragmatic party.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is what's happening in many locations now. Is the public itself is becoming more pragmatic about social values and economics.
Yeah.
And they're now voting in that way. And we're seeing it in a number of countries, right?
Yeah,
correct.
As our friend Tanner would say, reality has started to slap people in the face, and they're realizing that this ideologically driven policy is not to their benefit.
Yeah,
that's
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. People smacked their head, and on the streets they found stuff that they didn't want, and eventually enough is enough. And I think, and you see it from every party. Doesn't matter if it's a left party or a right wing party or Democrat or how you call it. Everybody lost voting, people who voting for them, and they're all joined the PVV because everybody's fed up because it didn't work out.
Yeah.
So here's a question, Jasper. When you look at the numbers of people that voted in 2021 versus the number of people that voted in 2023, do you know what the difference is in terms of the number of people?
Yeah, there is a higher turnout. Almost 90% of the Dutch people voted.
90?
Really? Wow.
Almost 90%. So
wow.
98% of the Dutch people voted. Election went quite smooth. There are a couple of exemptions, but it went quite smooth.
How many people voted in 2021?
Yeah, less. Normally, it's about 70%. So every year,
point. This is
every year we see more people voting because they've been hit in their wallet, but they see it where they live. They see a change in demographic, in people demographic. Yeah. They see groceries are being expensive. They see energy is being expensive. Yeah. So eventually, when you've been smacked on your head, finally they're waking up. On the other side is when you've got a high turnout. If you look in history, a high turnout means most of the time that there has been a screw up somewhere. So you see it in South American countries, where the turnout is really high. You see all the fascist party leaders being on top. So that's the negative part about being a high turnout. But on the other hand, there was nothing to do. It has been simmering for 6 months because a half year ago the collapse of the Grote coalition has been done. Yeah. So it's the pros and don'ts in there, but I think democracy only works when people are involving, and I think that's what we've been seeing.
Yeah. So I would have thought with such a high turnout, maybe people were being bribed with, I don't know, donuts or maybe a lottery or something like that.
Volleyballing.
That obviously didn't happen there. So
no, there was a change in the way I've been voting. So every voting station had to be on their website of the local government website. Every voting station had to be. Each vote has been counted and it's been published on there. So that's new. So on the end results, you can count back on stuff. In the south of the Netherlands, there was a recount or something. But basically, yesterday, people in parliament are being settled in. So everybody who's been elected and is now in parliament already. But it doesn't matter. The Rutte is still outgoing, and he's still, until the new parliament is been arranged, the boss of the Netherlands.
Okay.
So this, looking at these numbers, I think the current government is in a very precarious situation. It appears as though they have to work really hard to build coalitions to continue to be the government.
Now, the thing is, the party who has won the most seats in parliament can start the negotiation, the coalition negotiation. Okay. So now it's the turn on Geert Wilders, and he's inviting party leaders over to negotiate a deal. And if that's not working out, then they can do whatever. So basically, it's a win for our side. But if Geert Wilders is not in power and the power has been taken away from him because other parties can negotiate, they will have a majority.
Yeah.
So if you look up NSC and
I was just going to say NSC and BBB.
NSC it's a new party. It's coming out of the Christian Democratic Appel, which has been a coalition in Rotterdam.
Yeah.
But the name is New Social Contract. And if
okay. Yeah.
So
we
everybody
hate that. Yeah.
That's a World Economic Forum term.
Yeah.
So, and they're basically his brother of the party leader is a member of the World Economic Forum. And BBB has been really big, has won. That's the Farmer Citizens Movement, who's been won really big in the provincial elections.
Yeah.
We had it last year. Could be, you see, in comparison to the last elections, she lost major seats. That's what because the punishment of the provincial elections, she didn't done it well. But if you look up, if you go to NSC, if you go to BBB, if you go to VVD, VVD, the party of Mark Rutte, he's not there, but and you go to Green Left and the Labour Party, that's the majority. And if that's the majority is going to be in parliament and in power, then the elite plan is continuing. So we still have a lot of work. That's the downside. Yeah. And we still have a lot of work. But if we're going to be asleep, they're going to steal this away from us.
Yeah. Yeah. So the same thing we say over here, you guys have to do, just get involved and make sure that you're able to, to voice your opinion and back the right groups, the right political party.
Yeah, correct. So the fun part is, and that's what I love, is that the left or the Democrats or the globalists or the extensionists went crazy about the win from Geert Wilders. They're like, he's a racist, extreme right, everybody of color needs to go out of the country, all these kinds of crazy talking points. Yeah. And even our vice president, Mrs. Kaag, was on state television, and she gave her reaction. So personally, her reaction.
Well, I think we're going to show that. That was a pretty interesting video there.
Yeah, I actually have to show it separate, different ways. So give me a second here, and I'll set that up. You can keep talking about it though.
It's it's in Dutch. I've translated it, so you can read what she's saying, but it's full hatred. It's like what she has been saying. It's here you have it. Let's watch this.
Okay.
De winst voor PVV is wat mij betreft een slag in het gezicht van de democratie voor waardegedreven politiek. En de heer Wilders kan de laatste paar weken zich hebben willen voordoen als hij moeder Teresa zou zijn. Maar 20 jaar lang haat, discriminatie, uitsluiting tegen bevolkingsgroepen. En ook in zijn stijl, zijn politieke verdienmodel van aantijgingen, beschuldigingen en het demoniseren van anderen, zijn opponenten. Nou, dan heeft hij een lange weg te gaan om ooit echt milder te worden. Een mens van 1,62 of wat is hij, 60, die verandert niet op één op de andere dag.
Mevrouw Kaag, waarom zulke harde woorden? Want het land heeft toch gesproken op dit
moment? Ja, dat kan, maar dat zijn mijn woorden. Er werd gevraagd om mijn reactie. Ik spreek niet namens het land. Dit is zoals ik het zie. En ik vind het zeer zorgwekkend. Ik denk ook dat Rob Jetten heel duidelijk heeft gesproken. Onze nieuwe partijleider, mijn opvolger. En dit is zoals ik het zie. En natuurlijk hebben er ook, 67% van de mensen hebben niet op de heer Wilders gestemd. De uitdaging is aan hem om te laten zien dat hij oprecht waardegedreven is, voor tolerantie staat. We hebben het nog nooit meegemaakt.
U bent boos, merk ik.
Nee, ik ben niet boos. Ik ben gepassioneerd. Dat is wat anders. Boos, nee. Ik ben niet boos op een verkiezingsuitslag. Ik maak me zorgen. De vraag was, wordt hij wat anders? Nee, dat wordt hij niet. Als hij premier wordt, dan is dat door de coalitie. Dan is hij formeel premier. Dat is niet mijn premier.
Wow.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is she reading from a template that was drawn up like in the United States for when any liberal talks about any conservative? Because those are the exact same talking points that we heard about Trump, the same things we hear about Pierre Poilievre, the same things we heard about our premier in Alberta, Danielle Smith. It's basically the same script. Hateful, discrimination, no tolerance, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
He's not going to change. He's going to be the same thing. Yeah, yeah. Well, but if this is standardly the way how they're talking about us, and there's no, how you say it, you've been seeing it. It's the hatred in it and the disrespect for it.
Yeah.
It's hypocrisy.
Yeah, it is.
Because the other side was intolerant of the farmers, was intolerant of a more conservative perspective.
Of the truckers. etc.
Yeah.
So this is a form of intolerance that they don't recognize in themselves. That's why it's so hypocritical. Mm-hmm. That perspective that woman said.
So
yeah,
what is it about the new Prime Minister, Mr. Wilders, that they find hateful and discriminatory and intolerant? I know what it is, but do you want to explain, Jasper, what his policies are that the left attacks?
Yeah, the only thing that I can imagine is that his point of view is controversial in the point of that he want to have close the borders and he want to have an exit, and that's the whole. That's it, because of the rest of the political thoughts of the party are really socialist. He's pro affordable housing. He's pro elderly care. He's pro health care. He's pro all these kinds of stuff. But standardly was for the Democrats. He has the same thing. The number 2 or number 3 is a girl. I call her the queen of medical care. She's been fighting in parliament for 10 years about why there 60,000 staff people are fired in elderly care in Holland the last 10 years. She's fighting her ass off for that. So, but these are all standardly democratic thoughts. And but they're only talking about he want to have a close border and he wants to have an exit, so out of the European Union. And that's the whole controversial thing.
Tell us a little bit about what's occurred in Holland over the last, say, 15, 20 years. How has Holland changed with the open borders immigration policy of the last few governments?
The demographic the demographic population has been shifted. If you look into Amsterdam or the large cities in the Netherlands, I believe 55% is not Dutch native. That's different. I'm not saying it's wrong, but that's different, and that's we see churches remodeled as mosques.
So the culture is shifting.
Yeah, we can't be, for example, our cultural stuff. For example, on the 5th and the 6th of December, we celebrate Sinterklaas and Black Pete. That's the processor of Santa Claus. But Black Pete is a traditional Dutch thing. It's the helping hand of Saint Nicholas. And he's bringing gifts for children, and he's doing that going down the chimney, and that's why he's black. But he can't be black because that's a racist thing.
Oh yes,
And but that's how I grown up. It's the same thing as bullfighting in Italy, or
in Spain,
of in Spain, for example. And everybody has their own cultural. But even Easter is not allowed anymore. So all these type of standard what I've been growing up to is not allowed anymore. So that's what I think. I don't think I've been raised wrongly, but everything how I've been raised is now been turned wrong. So that's weird. Houses are really expensive. Pensions are. We had the best pension fund in the world. In our pension fund, there are 1.5 trillion euros in it. It's the biggest pension fund in the world. And everybody's aiming for it because the European Union wants it, and they want to be that part of collectiveness in it, because the European Union wants not in. You have to save pension for yourself, not in a collective way, and they want to have this money. So there's a lot of things are changed in the Netherlands, and we're just this small country, and when there's a shortage on stuff, things are getting expensive. Yeah. So you will see it in a clip further on. Every week now we're getting 1,500 immigrants in. That means 1,500 houses. They need to bring in their family later on because they're old men. So every week we need to build 1,500 houses. We only can build 90,000 houses in a year. Yeah. So if you're closing our borders, so everybody's saying, how can we have affordable housing, or even a house, even if it's not affordable? Close up the borders and give the houses to the Dutch citizens instead of immigrants or Ukrainian people who are now here fled for the war. So there are a lot of things changed in the Netherlands, and not only it's only for the worst. It's not better. We see financially that it's lesser. We need to work harder. Everything is taxes, healthcare. Everything is expensive.
The resources are being strained in Holland, is what I learned when I was there. I mean, you can't have just unchecked immigration and open borders with no foresight of what the economy and the situation is going to look like after, right? Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. Okay, and if you look up now in the region where I live, our local government bought a hotel, but it's been bankrupt, and now with 240 rooms, and they're now being given away for immigrants.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's a four-star hotel. It was a 4-star with marble floorings, mega rooms, and now they're in there. So it's been bought for, I believe, 17 million euros. Each week, our local government spends 200,000 euros for hotels for Ukrainians that need to be taken care of. But it doesn't mean that there's a shortage in our local. So everything is going to be expensive next year in there. Healthcare is going to be 12 euros more expensive each month. Instead of I'm paying 120 euros, I'm going to pay 135 euros next year a month for healthcare. And there's nothing in there. Eh? So if you need to go to a doctor, you need to pay extra on it still. Wow. So gas prices are going up for your car. Energy prices are going up. So it's a massive fight.
Now, what's next, Jasper? Are they going to start buying cruise ships and filling them?
Basically, we've got the largest cruise ships in the world hanging in our harbors to take care of our immigrants. Yeah. So a city a bit further away, there's the 10 largest cruise ship in the world, luxury cruise ship, and there are 1,500 immigrants on it. And in Rotterdam, the same thing. And there I believe there are 3 big cruise ships, and river ships are there. So on a river ship, a cruise river ship, there are 100 people on it. Next to the houses and the containers and the temporary housing and the hotels.
Wow. So I have a couple questions. One is, when you talk about churches being converted, do you find that, say, Christianity or Judaism or religion in general is under attack in the Netherlands, or what is your perspective?
It's the same thing. It's democratic. Like the Dutch people were basically Christianity or Jewish or forming there. But if you're shifting people's people in your demographic society, we've got 200,000, 2 million Muslims living in Holland now. Mm-hmm. So that means they want to have a mosque for that. So if a church is becoming empty because in that area there are not many Christians living anymore, it's becoming a church, it's becoming a mosque. Mm-hmm. That's what we're seeing. And I was in Utrecht for we see that clip later on. There's this massive mosque in city center, 2 blue towers going up 2 times or 3 times a day. The imam is speaking over the speakerphones in the area. It's different. And the elites don't want us. The elite has their own religion, and the environment is their religion, and that we need to believe in environment. So it's a cross section that they're in. We need to be believing in woke. We need to be believing in scientists, and we need to be believing in climate change. And that's the new religion.
You might be too young to remember this, but when Muammar Gaddafi was alive and the president of Libya, a discussion occurred with respect to a military engagement with Europe. And his comment was, we don't need to take control of Europe militarily. We'll do it demographically.
Exactly.
That's what Muammar Gaddafi once said. But it's interesting to see the Netherlands stand up. Britain has now stood up against immigration, and nobody's against immigration, but most sensible people who are pragmatic are not in favor with unchecked immigration.
That's the whole thing. We're aiming for a Australian immigration thing. And in Australia, you need to have 5,000 Australian dollars on your bank account.
Oh yes, yeah.
And you need to have a job. So that's we're not saying you're not welcome in Holland, because we're doing a lot of tourists, and we've got a lot of smart people, for example, from India working here for banks and IT. So we're not against immigration. But we need to maintain it. If we're not be able to maintain ourselves, our way of living, how can we maintain their way of living? Mm-hmm. So I think first we need to take care of ourselves, and if that's been arranged, we can do that for everybody else. And in a broader line, the political parties in Holland are saying the same thing. First, our finance, we need to be closing our borders, and it doesn't mean if there's a war going on, we're not taking care of refugees, but it means that 1,500 people a week, it's way too much. We can't handle that, and people need to be sleeping on the streets, and it's now 0 degrees outside. So we don't have the energy. If we're building more houses, our energy grid is going down because we're on the top level. We need to build on it, but we can't. There are not enough staff for it. So we're running against a wall. And first we need to have that been taken care of. And that's what the PVV is saying. That's what Forum for Democracy is saying. That's what everybody's basically saying in politics. First ourselves, and then we can take the rest of the rest. And migration, we need to handle. It's not an open border. It's our country, and we want to decide who's going to be in there or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are other countries in Europe that are standing up against the World Economic Forum UN agenda. Estonia, I understand. Hungary has always stood up against it, I think.
Hungary is
Italy, Lithuania. What other countries in Europe are showing rumblings of the same kind of sentiment that has occurred in the Netherlands and some of these other countries?
It depends a bit, because it's a lot of Americans are looking at Europe as the same as American, but we're sovereign countries. We're not states. We're basically a country, and that's the European Union within the 26 countries.
Yeah.
26. Yeah, 26 countries. I've got maybe a clip to show. If for example, Denmark it's a like-minded thinking country as well. They're a bit softer in it, a bit liberal in it, or but they can maintain the immigrant crisis. Kerry, if you want to show the clip, the last clip that I
the one you just sent to me,
the last one.
Okay.
That's Rob Rose. He's a member of Parliament of the European Union.
Okay.
No, not that one. From Van Haga and in Eerdmans about European Union.
This one here. Do you see it? I'm gonna add it. Is that the one you wanted?
No,
it's all that's
from the CBDC. Different.
So
the last one that I sent you on Facebook.
Yeah, isn't it this one? Do you see it?
Sorry?
Do you see it on your screen? Is this the one?
No. It's the if you go to your oh shit, sorry.
It's 3 in the morning in Holland, folks.
I know exactly. Yeah. Is there another one?
It's the second one that the second clip that I translated.
But is it? It's the man talking.
Yeah, there are two mans.
Yeah, there's two. Okay, so you want the other one then? Okay.
Yeah, from the YouTube page. Sorry.
Yeah. I will definitely blame it on.
That's and if I'm going back, this has happened before the European of the federal election,
where we had negotiations about the digital identity.
No, that's not that one. This is Wieberen van Haga and Joost Eerdmans talking in the Dutch Parliament about the European terrorist attack in Brussels. That was in front of the European Union, and first Wieberen van Haga of the interest of the Netherlands. That's the second clip in that I.
They're basically the same. I'll show you. My apologies, people. We didn't have this officially planned, but it looks like the same video came over twice. That's what I'm thinking.
You don't have to look at that. After Vice President Kaag, the second clip on the Facebook Messenger.
Okay. So then I don't know if you can see.
What? Yeah, they're talking about the terrorist attack. In Belgium, there was a guy from Syria who's been shooting. That's the one.
That's the one. Okay.
And that's the one. And he's been talking about why Denmark can be able to maintain the way of how many immigrants are coming. And he's calling about different countries. But let's run the clip.
Okay.
Denemarken, Finland, Oostenrijk, die lukt het allemaal wel om de instroom te beperken. Op allerlei verschillende manieren. Grensbewaking, de Dublin-akkoorden uitvoeren. Waarin verschilt Nederland zoveel van die andere landen dat het ons niet lukt, maar die andere landen allemaal wel?
In België kon een uitgeprocedeerde illegale Tunesiër onbekommerd leven in Brussel. Hij pleegde vorige week een jihadistische aanslag op 2 Zweedse voetbalspelers. Kan het zo zijn dat als wij weten in Europa en in Nederland niet, omdat de instroom zo hoog is, wie wij allemaal binnenlaten, wij daar serieus problemen met onze nationale veiligheid van krijgen?
Zeggen, dan val ik in herhaling wat ik net tegen de heer Van Hagen zei. Dat de juiste behandeling van een asielzoeker doen wij in Nederland op een zo zorgvuldige manier door te kijken.
Maar leven wij niet op een vulkaan? Als wij een open grensbeleid hebben met 1500 mensen van verre bestemming, met name Syrië, Irak.
Die is kloppen de feitelijkheden, ja of nee?
So this is this clip you see is the party leader of the interest of the Netherlands, a party leader of J21, asking questions about the terrorist attack and the open borders thing of the European Union. And this immigrant has been should be sent away back to Syria, but they didn't, and they attacked him. And then finally he made a terrorist attack and killed 2 Swedish guy in Brussels. But if you look at Van Haga is saying Finland, Estland, and basically the Nordic countries in Europe are having a correct policy about immigrations. They're closing our borders and they're deciding. So the question about the European Union is, why can these countries within the European Union take care of their borders and why we can't? And this is not the first terrorist attack by immigrants. So that's every country has arranged it for itself. So to answer, but you see different countries handling itself, and the Nordic countries are doing it better with immigrations than we do.
Does this have the potential to break up the European Union?
No, the European Union won't break up itself. It's too big. It's people in power people in power within the European Union want more power, more sovereignty to taking to the European Union, and that's what they're asking. That's what they're claiming for. They won't be smaller. They only want to be bigger. They want to have more money, more budget, more power.
See, you referred to each country in Europe as being a sovereign country. And I would suggest that the homogeneousness in intention of the European Union is to make everybody the same. Mm-hmm. So you lose your sovereignty. You might retain your language to some extent. But it seems to me that this whole agenda is taking away the sovereignty. In fact, that was one of the major reasons for Brexit, was the loss of the perspective of the British people, that they were losing their sovereignty. And that's why I raised the question about other countries, maybe Italy, the Netherlands, you're talking about possibly the Netherlands leaving the European Union. Mm-hmm. So it makes me think, well, maybe other countries are thinking about leaving the European Union as well. Maybe not so much the political establishment, but maybe more the electorate, the people.
The people, yeah. So Jasper, you're aware of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, right?
SDGs, the 17, yes.
So I just want to point out, there are some things that the United Nations and the World Economic Forum, for that matter, they call unsustainable. One of the things that they call unsustainable in a global world, global economy, whatever, is culture. Another one is religion. Another one is your national identity. Those are all unsustainable ideas in a global world.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. And let's get a step back, because I'm a proud, and I have explained it a couple of times, I'm a proud Dutchie, and I can imagine if you're living in Germany, you're a proud German. And same thing for Italy and for Spain and for Austria and Hungary and all the 27 countries. 26
but that's not allowed anymore.
But demographically, we're Europe. But that doesn't mean we need to be kissing each other. We can work with each other, but we don't have to be in bed with each other. And that's what we're saying. We want to stepping out. We want to have our Nexit. We're still in the European Union. We're still going to trade with European countries. We're still going to do stuff, but we're not going to be in having one wallet. I don't think that's a good thing.
So what does Nexit mean? What actually is it? Just the economic thing, the
correct
control of the 1.5 trillion pension fund, but you're still going to use the euro, for example.
Maybe, or we're gonna before the euro we had our guilder. It was one of the strongest currency in the world. We've got a Nexit think tank, and they're saying maybe we need to implement a new guilder, and we run it next to the euro, and we will find out a way how we're going to be separate. But currency needs to be tradable to each other. So there's a lot of several ways, but we've got a lot of think tanks being busy working on that.
Why wouldn't Nexit look like Brexit?
Because England of the UK didn't have a euro, so they always had their pound.
Oh,
so
that's right too.
So that was easier to go out.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're intervening. Yeah, we're there by contracts and by negotiations and by deals and by treaties. It's going to be expensive for an exit, but it's more expensive and to be within the European Union, economically wise. Before the European Union was EEG, so that was the business way that we worked within the European Union. So the EEG was started with Holland, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And and that was just an economical part, trading stuff. In Holland, we make iron. In Germany, they make cars out of it. So, and we're still doing it. But when I was young and I went on holiday to Spain, I was paying with pesos instead of guilders. And it was fun. Yeah. And the only thing is now it's easier to go over a border. But we're getting a lot of problems from it. So we're still being within the European Union. We're still going to trade with Belgium. We're still going to be trading with Germany and Spain and whatever, Greece. Yeah.
Yeah. What's Mr. Wilder's perspective on the way Nexit would, if he could have his way? What was his campaign policy on the Netherlands leaving the European Union?
During this election, he didn't talk much about an exit, but it's one of his stable points. And he's in politics now for 20 or 30 years. So it's one of his stable politic points that he wants to continue because he's having the same thing. The European Union makes 90% of our laws right now, which overriding the Dutch laws. So if we're having a law that we're thinking about 30 years ago that is still in place and is still working out, it's been overruled by a European law. So these are all, how can somebody within the European Union say to a former somewhere in Groningen, in the north of Holland, saying you're doing something wrong, you're polluting, but a chicken farmer in Ukraine can be polluting and have
what government departments? This reminds me of the election in Argentina. What government programs or departments does Mr. Wilders want to get rid of?
Basically, I think it's common sense things. He doesn't want to spend all the billions and trillions of euros about climate change. You think that's a nonsense thing. The climate is changing, but we don't have to spend that amount of money on it. The affordable housing is something that's the same thing. He wants to have, if you're earning 1,800 euros a month, which is a standard income in a minimum income in Holland, and you need to pay 1,300 euros to rent a house. Yeah, you can't pay a car, you can't put on children to school, so that's way too. But that's a bit of a standard price nowadays.
Yeah. Well, the reason I asked this question is because if you looked at that video clip of the new president of Argentina, all those programs, and he pulls them off the wall.
Oh yes, yeah.
Fuera, I think it's Fuera or something like that, which means out, right? Means out. So Fuera, and he's pulling all these things off. So he wants much smaller government.
Yeah, correct.
And is that what Mr. Wilders is after?
Same thing. Going out of the United Nations, going out. We don't want to have a treaty with the World Economic Forum. All these talking points, but bit softer than Forum for Democracy, for example, is saying. Because Forum for Democracy is saying we want to have an exit. We don't want to have to do anything with NGOs and stuff. And the NGO could be Greenpeace, but United Nations or the World Economic Forum as well. So the years are, and all these. I've got it written down. Stop mass immigration. He wants nuclear energy. He wants a smaller government. He wants to restore the judgment system. How do you call it?
Justice system.
Justice system. He wants to stop funding NGOs. He wants to have an exit. He wants to have in COVID investigations about how politics works. He wants to take care of elderly. He wants to have he wants to maintain Black, Pete, and Sinterklaas. All these he wants to have he wants to maintain Black, Pete, and Sinterklaas. All these kinds of traditional
What does he want
stuff.
to do about taxation? What does he want to do about taxation? What does he want to do about taxation?
Taxation. He is saying that's a really good question, because that taxation is more like a business part than a citizens part, because we've got business parties as well, more. But he is saying if people can't, basically he's simplifying it. Basically, he's saying if you can't afford it, then the government is doing something wrong, because we should. And if the government is doing something wrong, we need to look in it and take care of our citizens. The Dutch citizens are number one. That's why I'm doing my job.
That's the way it should be.
It should.
Yeah, but it's and that's the whole thing, and that makes him controversial and extreme far right. And I'm if people are saying that to me, like, I'm a bit offended, and then nowadays I'm like, what the hell? I don't care what you're saying. You're not my friend. This is my point of view. This is what I think what's good for me and my family, my friends, and the rest of the Netherlands. Call me whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, as soon as you mention reining in immigration to the benefit of the country that people are immigrating to, that's oftentimes, almost always, twisted into a racist idea. But you know what? I really think we should be focused on maintaining these jurisdictions where people want to go to be free. For example, the Netherlands and Canada. People want to go there because they want to be free, they want to be prosperous, they come from places that aren't. If we don't maintain our cultures and identities in those places, they will be lost. And then where are people going to go? So, we have a responsibility to not only help people and take care of those who can't take care of themselves, but take care of ourselves so that we can continue to do those things. But that's often overlooked.
Yeah. And it's a hard fight, and that's maybe the second subject that I want to talk about is the left is getting crazy, and you saw that in the reaction of Vice President Mrs. Kaag, but you see it in the rest, and there's a lot of violence. Political violence been there in the Netherlands. We had Pim Fortuyn, and Pim Fortuyn was murdered by a leftist guy, shot dead in Hilversum, and that was that was I guess 20 years ago, and he was one of the first political people in Holland that been murdered about his views. After that, Geert Wilders, together with Theo van Gogh, made a movie, and it's called Fitna. And the second movie, or is called Submission. And the Submission is filmed by Ayaan Hirsi Ali. And finally, Theo van Gogh has been killed by a knife, has been stabbed death about making a movie about submission. And that movie was about Muslim submission, about cutting female organs down there, and being submissive to the man. And that's and Geert Wilders wanted to show how Muslims, in his terms, and is bad for the Dutch society. Finally, the Theo van Gogh has been murdered, but that violence, and that's the thing that I'm worried about, is that we're seeing a lot of violence coming in. We see it in the talking points about Minister Kaag. We see it on the street with the pro-Palestina demonstrations. We see it on the attacks on our political people. Geert Wilders has been protected by Secret Service already 20 years ago because he's on the death list of ISIS. During the Dutch elections, the federal elections, we saw two attacks on massive attacks on Thierry Baudet, the party leader of Forum for Democracy. He went to speak in a university. He's been attacked on the. He's been invited in a university in Ghent in Belgium, and he was walking in that university, and a guy who's been screaming anti-fascist coming from Ukraine smacked him, attacked him on his head with an umbrella. And this is afterwards you see the red umbrella. It's a small one. It's been, if you see, I think I can't show you the clip, but it was hard. If it was a knife, he was dead. But during his campaign, he was going up in north. He was in Groningen, and he was standing in a bar, and he was attacked by a beer bottle, and he was smacked on his head. So first, finally, a 15-year-old guy from how you call that? There's a 15-year-old guy has been arrested, but you saw him smacking a beer bottle, so he wanted to break, and then you saw him stabbing in his neck.
Yeah.
So it was it, and I think, and especially when the Democrats or the leftists are still speaking about this hatred, I think we're gonna see more violence and death within our political system.
But you know,
that's what I'm.
That's right out of the Communist Manifesto. Yeah. If you don't get what you want,
create chaos.
If you don't get what you want, but violence is acceptable to the socialists. if they don't get their way.
At all costs.
Yeah.
They're saying you're speaking violence, we're acting violence.
But their definition of violence in speech is simply stating something that they don't agree with. They consider it violent. Like, for instance, calling somebody who appears to be a man, you know, they tell you that you're committing an act of violence on them because they feel like they're a woman. And that's the world we live in. Even Canada, I don't know if you know this, Jasper, but we don't have issues as nasty as what we've seen in Holland. At least we sure don't see it very often. I mean, we had somebody throw rocks at Justin Trudeau, so that happened. Yeah. A few years ago, we had actually it was a pretty interesting video. A feminist man at a feminist rally punched a female reporter in the face.
That's right.
Feminism. You know, like, we're seeing these types of things here. A young man named Josh Alexander was outside, where was that, City Hall? I can't remember, or maybe it's university or something. But anyway, he had a Bible in his hand. He was preaching from the Bible, and he was attacked, like actually physically attacked by some, I don't know, apparently Looney Tunes people, screaming that he was trying to kill them or something like that. I think it was maybe it was a trans person that attacked him. Not that that was the motivating factor, but it was that group. They felt that him speaking warranted them actually attacking him. Mm-hmm. And after he was attacked, you know what happened? He was arrested by the Calgary police.
Yeah.
He was arrested.
Yeah. For inciting violence or something.
Yeah. But he stood there. I watched the video. He stood there, and these people just kind of beat on him. One of them even, one of them reached down and stuck their hand down the back of his pants. 17-year-old guy.
Wow.
So they think violence is allowed and we're the...
And permissible. It's permissible. Well, look at the Summer of Love in the U.S. with all of the violence and buildings being burned down.
Yeah, the mostly peaceful protest.
Yeah, mostly
the media described it.
Yeah,
yeah. Unreal.
It's a weird thing. So I was that's that's I think for Holland and maybe we're a front runner in it. I think that violence is gonna, the left is not taking it, and their loss is bigger than our loss. It's weird to say, but I think where our points are more genuine than theirs. But I was when it's something political, I think it's interesting, and it doesn't matter what side where you're on. I want to join it. And 3 months ago, I was joining a pro-Palestina demonstration, and in the same thing with the violence, with the enough is enough, we won't handle it, and the pro-Palestine demonstrations. I think that's the big win for our for Geert Wilders, for the Party of Freedom. And when it's not in your area, you don't see it. But we had, I think, demonstration is, you can demonstrate whatever, but we've been standing on the street as well. So, but what we're seeing in Holland, the pro-Palestinian demonstrations are more like a pro-Hamas demonstrations. And I wanted to see it because I wanted to. And if citizens are walking next to it and they're feeling what's there going on, that's another trigger to vote for something else. And Kerry, I sent you the clip from the pro-Palestina, but you're getting a feeling of it, what's going on, and they're screaming Allah Akbar in Dutch streets, and they're screaming Siri I Hamas. I had to look it up because I don't speak Arabic, but it means something like we're supporting Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. Let's run this.
Yeah.
You were there. This is your video, Jasper?
Yeah, I've been there. This is my video. This is in Utrecht.
Really?
Yeah.
But this is very similar to what's happening in Calgary too.
Demonstration.
Yeah.
There like 10,000 people were on that square in Utrecht, the fourth largest city in the Netherlands, and there were pro-Palestine demonstrations, but they were all and it's allowed by Dutch law. They were saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That means a genocide on the Israeli people. So that was before the elections, and when it's up in your face, and people were walking next to it, and people were saying, "Whoa, this is heavy stuff. I feel intimidated." It's in your face, and that's, I think, one of the small part, but one of the reasons why Geert Wilders is massive, won massively.
Yeah.
So what's happening all over the world? This is happening in Calgary. It's happening in Edmonton, Vancouver, all over Canada. There's comments about Toronto and Ottawa. The cultural and religious division from lands far, far away are on our shores, and they're influencing our own politics.
Yeah.
You know, in Canada here, it's so divisive that two friends can walk in a bar, have a conversation about Israel and Palestine, and then they walk out not as friends, but one is an anti-Semite and one is a terrorist.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's the way these things are going.
It's really heavy, and that's what because it's in Europe. The Ukraine-Russia war didn't divide us, but it a bit teared up with the war with pro-Palestine and Israel. So. And that's what I think what the elite is doing really well. There's something it's a cultural thing, and I'm not intermingling. I think I hate wars. When people are dying, it's war, but when it's uncalled for and not unnecessary. But why do we need that? Yeah, that's the whole different thing. Why do we need these demonstrations on our street?
Yeah,
and they're still going on. The other thing is I thought that was a really strange point about the mainstream media, because Israel stopped supplying power and water to Palestine, and they call that the natural gas to Europe, but Germany cut off the pipeline in Germany. So basically, it's our leaders, the Dutch leaders, the German leaders, the European leaders, cut off the Dutch citizens, and that's in their talking point the same genocide. But they did it. It's the same thing. So I think it's the double speech what they're using.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, a few people have mentioned what's happened in Calgary here, saying, Kerry, are you happy with your mayor tonight? So if you don't know, our mayor Gondek decided that she would not light the lights of the menorah. So our good friend Corey Morgan ended up going there, and I know you won't be able to hear this. It's not going to be on there. Goes to show how many people did show up specifically to light the lights, and yet our mayor has now decided that maybe she won't be involved in certain political parties, certain political fashions. She won't be involved in certain religions, and yet we're telling people that, you know, we should all just get along. And so I'm a little upset that our mayor is basically trying to have more division in our fair city, and basically this ends up rolling into what's happening in Alberta and of course across the country here.
This is the problem, and this is the problem with human beings.
Yeah.
None of these issues that we're not faced with in where we're at, we don't know anything other than what we're told.
That's
right.
right.
No matter which side of any of these things, whether it's Russian or Ukraine or Israel or Palestine, if you take a side with it, you're doing that with a measure of faith. It's not because of facts, because we've seen how the media manipulates facts and changes the way people think. We have no idea. We really don't.
Yeah.
And to think that we're allowing those faith-based decisions or assumptions to influence the way we interact with each other in our own countries is it's troubling, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be really be worried about it, and don't be divided. If you're, I'm against war, and it doesn't matter who started it or who's the violent one. I'm against it. I'm pro humanity, and they need to be prospered.
Yeah,
and I'm not picking a side. I'm not picking the Jewish side. I'm not picking the pro-Palestinian side. I'm not picking the Ukrainian side. I'm not picking the Russian side. But I will comment on there from that's wrong. And in war, there's always things that's nasty and on both sides. So I don't think it's not my fight, but I want the fight that I'm in is more like the problems that we're getting out of it, and that's what I'm a bit worried about.
That's a really good point, and you kind of nailed it there, Jasper. There are people who love war, and they hate humanity, because when you think about it, what is war? War is the legalized exchange of our people's lives for money and power. And land. That's what war is.
A resource.
It is an anti-human procedure by which people who don't care about humanity become wealthier and more powerful. So what we're dealing with here is a sanctity of life versus an anti-human agenda, period. And all of these other issues that we face, the climate change stuff, the immigration things, all of those things boil down to those 2 points, human and anti-human thought.
Well, there's more war coming. You look at Guyana and Venezuela right now, and that disputed land.
Oh, yeah.
That's coming. And there's no question Venezuela is going to be trying to expropriate that land. And the difference between the two militaries, it's like 100 to 1. You know, Guyana can't protect themselves unless the U.S. and other countries are there as well. And then, you know, where does the next shoe drop? You know, I mean, it's just ongoing. But I will say one thing that comes out of this conversation that's crystal clear to me is that there's hope. I mean, when the Netherlands can stand up, when Estonia can stand up, when Lithuania, when Alberta is standing up, and Argentina is standing up. When you see that happen, it means that there are other people around the world that are not accepting this globalist agenda, and that's the good news. But we have to. We're in the fight of our lives, and we're in a war right now. It's just that it's not so much a blood war as it is an ideological war.
Ones and zeros.
Yeah. So, but we've got to stand up, and democracy gives us a way to stand up by voting. It gives us that opportunity, and you know, what can you say? It's the worst form of government except for everything else.
I'm totally agreeing on that. But. And that's why I'm drinking a bubble champagne, but because the part that we're winning are small but stable, and we see that we know where we want to go.
Yeah.
We see our end goal, and it's step by step by step, and every small step is a small win, and we're getting smacked by the head. So every win we need to celebrate.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Well,
I wanted to, but because and I know you've been talking about it. The fight is still going on. There's a new lawsuit that's coming up, and it's been in Holland, and it's a fun one. It's an interesting one, at least. It's been organized by Recht op Recht. It means translate right on right. There are two lawyers from two massive law firms. They have 7 people with vaccine injuries. And they've been 12 people from the Dutch political thing. So Prime Minister Mark Rutte, all these types, but the same thing as when you have the RIVM, it's called this. The health department,
okay.
Fauci's department, for example, but for the Holland, that guy's been sued. 2 guys from the mainstream media. So the boss of the state television and the boss of the Telegraph newspaper, but as well as Borla, the CEO of Pfizer, and Bill Gates has been sued. So this is a new lawsuit that's coming up in the Netherlands, and we'll see where that's going. But Borla and Gates need to be going to the Netherlands and need to be sitting in front of the judge.
Yeah,
I hope that's too.
Yeah. If anything, there's just less countries he'll be able to travel to.
Exactly. That's the. Yeah, that's the
sad part is he'll just stay in the U.S. and buy up more land and more farms because he won't be able to go anywhere. So he might as well just stay in the U.S.
Yeah, that'll mean less cattle.
So that's what's simmering around, and probably will be taking 3 or 4 years in the Dutch court system. When Borla or Gates is coming to the Netherlands, there will be taking over, or at least make sure that there's this lawsuit coming up.
Yeah,
Jasper, if you can, and you know any of the people that are involved in that, encourage them to get in touch with the National Citizens Inquiry here in Canada. There is a huge database of information and testimony, both by experts and regular people, regarding what occurred around the COVID pandemic and the restrictions and mandates, and in particular the vaccinations. So, or I shouldn't call them that, but you know what? They did a huge amount of work here in Canada gathering all this data, and their goal is that it is available to anybody all around the world who is pursuing remedy against the people that did this to us. So that's the National Citizens Inquiry.
Cool. I will make sure. I had contact with that lawyer team. They want to do this on their own, but I've got my contact, so I will make sure they know this is going on.
Yeah. It's done. They're completed. The commissioners of the inquiry, they issued their report, and they're cataloging all of the evidence and data that they've collected over the last year for public use for anyone that wants to do that.
And there's 90 recommendations.
Yeah, Jasper, I'll send you the links for all that stuff too.
Cool. I will make sure they will notice. Yeah. And then because the other thing is we need to make sure, and it's not only COVID, of course. It's the whole deal. Now that we're making sense and we know what's going on, the globalists are still pushing through. Kerry, if you go to our Prime Minister Mark Rutte, he has made a statement. He was flowing to the GOP 28, the Climate Scientist Summit in Dubai.
We sent a boatload of people there too.
100,000 people were flying into Abu Dhabi talking about the environment. So it's about crazy. But the mainstream media journalist asked our outgoing Prime Minister Mark Rutte about your signing here contracts. Is this allowed? And look at his reaction. It's shocking. That's not the one.
That's not.
No. Let me see.
Which one was it then?
Did I say
that? I want to know what song this is.
Oh.
Maybe Shelley.
I don't think I did. I didn't send it to you.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe you didn't send it to me. That's all right. Maybe you can just describe what he did then, or what he said, if you can remember.
It's coming your way as well. No, he was standing on a roof in Dubai, and the mainstream media journalist was saying, "Okay, listen up. You're a outgoing prime minister. Dutch election has been doing. You're signing $50 million euros away for climate. Maybe a new government is coming in, and don't have the same point of view."
Werkelijkheid. Wat betekent?
Yeah. Okay. Can you show it?
Yeah, just give me a second. It's not as intuitive as you think it would be.
And he's reacting on that question. It's like it's mind blowing about how our leaders still and they're sort of out of power, still giving away money, signing treaties, and after this clip, he was flying to America to give away the 50-minute cities. But let's run this.
Is in Nederland natuurlijk een andere politieke werkelijkheid. Wat betekent dat voor de afspraken die hier op de top gemaakt worden?
Niets.
Want?
Waarom wel?
Ja, omdat er waarschijnlijk een kabinet komt die anders tegen het klimaat aankijkt.
Nou, dat weten we niet. Die formaties in Nederland duren eindeloos lang altijd. Dat is gebruikelijk. En je weet nooit wat de uitkomst precies gaat zijn. En het huidige kabinet heeft een lijn en die zetten wij voort. En daar is volgens mij veel steun voor.
Just blows it right off.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's saying,
I don't care. I'm doing my thing.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what the people want. I mean, we're just going to do this anyway. The elite and the globalists will do it anyway, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, we can do this. We're still in power, so we're going to give everything away. It's a really strange question that you're asking me this. Yeah, that's the arrogancy of our leaders. He's been voting away. He's been 13 years in power. He's been smacked down. His party has been dropped seats down.
Yeah,
the negotiations are still going on, and they're still polling voters about something. Geert Wilders with his Party for Freedom has 37 seats of the 150 in the Netherlands, but now we're voting on, he has 42 seats. So the VVD lost seats, New Social, everybody lost seats, and Geert Wilders won them. Still is winning. So it's it's just they're holding on to this power grab, and sickening.
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting. But we have hope because
the whole thing is that I'm so positive that I want to drink champagne and explaining this, because we see a straight up line, a curve going our way. And within every elections, new people are saying, I can't handle this. This is enough. I want to have common sense. I want to make sure I can take care of myself and do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a massive thing, and that's what I'm happy about. And maybe if Geert Wilders is not joining a coalition or is not able to be, it's just a new step forward. So the only thing that I wanted to say is we need to make sure, because the left is feeling this is as well, the Democrats is feeling as well. Make sure your security is there. Make sure everybody has been taken care of, because they're coming for you.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that I think is important that we haven't even really touched on is the left really believe, and I shouldn't even say the left, but those who are opposed to our perspective, they really believe that we just don't care about them and we hate them and we want everything the opposite of them. And that's really not true. Like, conservative policies can benefit everyone. And like, as a conservative, I don't want anybody to be left behind. I want the policies that we have here in Alberta and in Canada to be good for everybody so we can peacefully coexist. I don't want anyone left behind. And I think maybe, you know, as the tide is turning, it's important that we make sure that people know that we don't have to cave to their demands or to their perspective, but we can for sure acknowledge that, you know, they want things different than us and we don't want them left behind in society. And, you know, maybe we can stave off some beer bottle attacks if we do that effectively.
Exactly. We want to have the discussion. All the alternative news networks are saying, please, if you're Democrat or you're left, or come to our studio, let's have a talk about this as man to man or whatever, how you want to say it. Just have a discussion. We don't have to agree to something, but we're human citizens. We can talk about it, and they're not able to. And but still, they're saying, for example, they're saying you're anti environment, but they're cutting a tree down for some road, and then we're saying leave that tree alone. So it's really weird. But
and flying to the Middle East to talk about the trees.
How another thing? How big is your largest stadium in Alberta? A football stadium or event stadium? How large is your biggest stadium?
20,000?
No, 60. Well, Commonwealth holds 60,000.
Oh, Commonwealth, yeah.
I was going to say 60. Yeah.
Okay. Now, in Holland, I think it's almost 70,000 for all the football stadiums.
Yeah, that makes sense.
These are the biggest stadiums that we're having. 100,000 world leaders flew to Abu Dhabi to talk about environment.
That's right.
More than the biggest stadiums in the world flew with their private airline, their private jet to Abu Dhabi, to somewhere in a sandbank to talk about environment. It's more than a double persons attended that summit than last year.
But you know something, Jasper? One of the good things that's happened is that there are a number of people that have gone to COP28 who are opposed to the climate agenda.
Are they?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are opposed, including the chairman.
Yeah, the president of COP28.
The president of COP28 basically stated that we go back to cave times.
If we got rid of
rid of our oil and gas industry.
That's right.
You know, and of course the green alarmists, the eco nutcases, their heads exploded when he said that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. But
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is good. And our own premier and her entourage were there supporting oil and gas.
Too many of them, but that's another story.
Yeah. So like I say, you know, the socialists don't like it when you've got the opposition going to the same event.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
you're right.
You know, and I think some of the oil and gas industries may even find the courage to stand up for themselves, because right now they're in the hands of the socialists, simply because they're getting handouts from the federal government and from provinces in Canada or states like in the US. It's the easier path. They just don't well, they're probably realizing it now. If they keep going down this path, they're gonna lose. You know, so, but right now the oil and gas industries are winning because they're being so heavily subsidized for all of this bullshit CO2 carbon capture and storage nonsense. You know? I mean, I look at it from this point of view. You know, it seems okay for the eco-alarmists to want to kill the plants because CO2 is food for the plants. And they want to prevent CO2 from getting to the plants. The higher the CO2, the greater the plant life. I mean, it's just so freaking logical.
Well, but again, they're about something. We're supposed to be very afraid because.
Oh yes, I know. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't talk about it in terms of plant life food or anything. They talk about more about the world is going to burn by 2016. And
that already happened.
Yeah, I guess it did.
We're in purgatory.
And it really is like, if anybody actually took a look at the graphs, I mean, we've been to a few meetings on this, and it's all rational stuff, but it's not presented that way in mainstream media. And of course, that's what people are hearing is, you know, don't buy any beach land because the world's going to flood. And yet, guess what? People are still buying beachfront property. People are still
notwithstanding, Kerry, there are hundreds of cities that are underwater in the Mediterranean.
I live 7 meters below 7
That's right.
7 meters below sea level.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So that all happens. For the oil and gas industry.
Yeah. So that's a perfect example. Is that if instead of spending $1 trillion on saying no, you know what, we're going to change petroleum to solar panels and stuff, we could actually be building the dikes and on all that if that was a thing to prevent this, and probably cost less than it would be to do everything with solar panels.
I forgot to tell you something, Kerry. You know, I stayed at Jasper's house.
Yes.
And Jasper lives 7 meters below sea level. He actually lives in a pineapple under the sea.
Yeah, I'm a sort of square pants.
Who lives in a pineapple?
Well, it's so when people are saying sea level is rising, we're living here. There's always, we're human citizens. We're humans. We find a way how we can live, and we're the living subject for it.
Yeah.
So,
but you'd have a hard time building those dikes if all you had was electricity to do stuff.
Yeah. We need Russian diesel.
Well, we need diesel, we need natural gas, we need all the energies that we can in order to create.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Amazing how we can master the environment and the climate by harnessing cheap and abundant energy.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Speaking of cheap and abundant energy, I got some gas in my gas tank of my Jeep that I have to burn to get home, so I can get up early in the morning and open the cafe.
Yeah, precies, Mr. Bun. Huh?
Yeah. I'm gonna do oily balling for New Year's too.
Are you?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, perfect. So I saw somebody was saying when you're giving them a finger, they're taking your whole hand. So that's exactly what they're doing. Were there any questions somewhere around, or?
Oh, here's a question for you. This is a great one.
Yeah,
they're everywhere. Everywhere.
And windmills. There's windmills everywhere.
We've got I've got on my roof a 2 by 2 square meter, 2 square meters roof panels for hot water.
Yeah.
But it's quite standard, and our sea is full of wind turbines. Our land is full of wind turbines, and the left is, and we wanna have nuclear power. And the fourth or the fifth way how you build a nuclear power plant, it's really safe and secure. So there's no way. But the left doesn't want it. The Green Left, the Labour Party, doesn't want nuclear power. And
you know what? They wanted it until they realized it would work. Up until the 70s, nuclear was like going to save everybody. The Green Left wanted it. And then we started doing it. Oh, no, we don't want that anymore because it works and we're still making an impact. But you know what? I think the Netherlands should develop the massive, massive natural gas in the North Sea. You guys have so much natural gas there. There shouldn't be a wind turbine disrupting whales and dolphins anywhere near there. Correct. But yeah, it's sickening. If we're going to the beach, we don't see England anymore. We see
turbines. Yeah,
exactly.
Wow.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. So
heavily subsidized, and the same thing when I thought it was really fun. In Germany, a lot of wind turbines are in the sea. And in America, there had a lot of projects. Only Biden didn't want to subsidize them. So they're not coming. So I thought it was really fun. And a lot of German companies.
None of them are making money. So
no, the wind turbine is not working on wind. They're working on subsidy.
Yeah. You got to finish that bottle of champagne before we're done here.
I'm almost done, but that's I'm feeling a little drunk.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Jasper's English gets a little different every glass of wine he has.
It's getting better, right?
If we keep going a little longer, he'll just have to wake up for the day anyways, because now it's 4:30 for him. You realize that, eh?
You know what? I think we should wrap it up because it's actually my bedtime in like 39 minutes. So
and
I got an hour and 45-minute drive.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think I had a lot of fun, and I think it was necessary to talk about the Dutch elections. I think what's happening in the Netherlands and how people are reacting and the violence on it, it's going to be spread over because the left is not taking it. I think it's really necessary, and to be honest, basically we won, and it's a win for the Netherlands. So
cheers. Cheers for that.
Cheers. Yeah. Excellent. There's my water bottle still. Cheers. I'm almost done. So there you go. I almost finished my water.
You've got around the corner a lot of bottles. I've been in your cellar.
I know. Well, I do. You're right. I probably have some champagne or some wine I could have cracked open too, but
celebrations. Right. When you're winning, you're near to drink.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Any excuse. Win or lose.
I win every weekend, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Thanks again for joining us.
And thanks, Dennis, for letting me use your office.
Yes. Yeah. Otherwise, it would have been at least another hour later by the time Chris would have got home.
Oh, I would have just done it from the car.
Yeah, I guess you could have done that. We've done that before.
Yeah.
As we're driving around.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah.
Province. Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Jasper. Give my regards to everyone, every single person in Holland, please.
Yeah.
Yes. By name, you can go into that. Thanks for joining us.
I want to wish you, thank you for joining, and I want to say to the people in Canada and Alberta, I hope I will be back really soon. And thank you for watching this, and thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kerry.
Absolutely.
And all the rest.
Take care.
Cheers. All right, and we'll talk to you before Christmas for sure.
Perfect.
Okay. All right then, buddy. Okay. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks. Cheers. There you go. Cheers.